Hi, welcome back. I hope this finds you well. I wanted to talk to you about ways that you can spot narcissistic or toxic individuals in your workplace. And narcissistic or toxic individuals are everywhere, really. And the workplace is no exception. And we're talking all levels. And in particular, at the senior levels, narcissistic or toxic individuals can be abundant in those levels of positions because they are addicted to people and they're very good at manipulating people and really managing perceptions. And so they can easily get into those positions, and in some ways their personality can allow them to excel in senior level positions because they are really good at manipulating people. And at that level, that's pretty much what you need to be able to do. You need uh, to be able to lead teams and be able to put people on tasks and in roles that are going to help elevate the department. And a lot of times, these individuals, because they're good at manipulating people and managing people, they are able to stand in in front of everyone and take credit when really there are a lot of people that are being managed and manipulated beneath them, who are doing all the heavy lifting that the narcissistic or toxic boss gets to just suck up the credit for. Anyway, when you're either new to an organization or you've relocated maybe to a new city and started a new job at a management or higher level, you may very well encounter narcissistic and toxic individuals. Some of the same things that apply to, say, other relationships like romantic relationships, and the way that narcissistic or toxic individuals draw you in that way, can apply to the workplace as well. It can tend to feel like too much too soon. They can perhaps isolate you and maybe offer to take you to dinner, lunch, or out for drinks to get to know you, and maybe ask you or listen to you download your life story, or or maybe it's just your career story, and try to find out more about you, your likes and interests, who you know, what your thoughts are about the organization, what your career path has been, how much you know, how smart you are, things that you're interested in. They might try to copy your style, and they may try to maybe make backhanded comments to make themselves feel a little better, because after all, they may feel intimidated by you. Maybe they got into the org before you did, but maybe they feel threatened by your appearance or by your intelligence or by your accomplishments, your work history. They may also try to be conversant about things that you are interested in and they know you're interested in, but they really don't know what they're talking about. And it'll become apparent the more they try to talk about it. It could be your favorite designer or your favorite destination or something like that. They may visit your place if you've recently relocated. They may pay you a visit and check out your place and maybe ask you where you got certain things, like, oh, where'd you get that table, or who did your curtains. And then they may go ahead and try to copy your style, because they really don't have a personality or an identity or a style, and they tend to, you know, get those things from other people that they're targeting. You may catch them in a lie on the job about something that's really unnecessary. They may, and oftentimes they do, overstate their qualifications. And that might be one of the reasons that they feel insecure around you, is because they know that they overstated their qualifications to get the position that they got. And if they're maybe a step or a step and a half or so ahead of you in the organization, they may feel a little uncomfortable because they know really that you deserve to be where they are, and vice versa. And maybe they don't even deserve to be, a step and a half down from where they are. Maybe they really deserve to be at an entry-level management position, but they're a VP. You never know. Also, they may brag about their accomplishments and their own work history, but again, they oftentimes will overstate these things. They also, if you have to work cross-functionally with them, they may withhold resources as a way to make you look bad or make it difficult for you to complete your job, which can be super frustrating. And they may even try to badmouth you or smear you to their team so that their team will not provide resources, information, or things that you need cross-functionally to be able to complete a task. And if there's a deadline on it, then it's even more frustrating. So what can you do? Well, you can, one, gray rock, be boring, bland, uninteresting, and really try to keep the narcissistic or toxic individual at bay. And two, you can document. Write down, make notes of everything, conversations, incidents, things of that nature. Number three, focus on the business. Focus on the bottom line. That's what you were hired for. And if you stay focused on that, it could make the narcissistic or toxic person's behavior stand out all the more. Organizations hire you for a purpose, and a lot of times narcissistic or toxic individuals in the workplace are more focused on managing and manipulating people than they are on solving the problems of the organization. Feed your focus, starve the narcissistic or toxic individual. Number four, if you can, maybe you can take partners around them in other departments, and in that way try to get things done and not have to engage with the narcissistic or toxic individual. Number five, you can work on cultivating your own relationships with people in the organization. That way they can get to know you. And also, if the narcissistic or toxic individual pulls you into a social setting outside of work, you'll want to cultivate your own relationships with those individuals as well. And really, at the end of the day, people who are real tastemakers and who have a keen eye will be able to tell, the difference between, say, yourself and the narcissistic or toxic individual, especially if they are trying too hard or putting a lot of extra on it to make an impression, but really don't have the substance. And quite frankly, they may even pull you into those types of social situations because you have good taste, great style, you're very knowledgeable about a variety of subjects, and by association, the narcissistic or toxic individual will look better by being associated with you. But if you cultivate your own relationship with people within the social circles one-on-one, they'll be able to tell. They'll be able to see the holes, see the things that don't match up, and they will most likely gravitate towards you, even if they don't make a big point of announcing it to the narcissistic or toxic individual. They will pull back and they will direct their attention towards you, or they will engage you in a way that they won't engage them. Working with narcissistic or toxic individuals, especially at the senior level, can be exhausting. After all, you were hired to do a job, you've worked hard to get where you are in your career, and you are being paid a lot of money to do a certain job. And it can be very frustrating and annoying and just stressful to deal with toxic and narcissistic personalities at that level, especially when you are trying to prove yourself and deliver what you were hired to deliver. One thing to keep in mind is that even though it may seem like the narcissistic or toxic individual is getting away with their behavior in the short term, ultimately it does not last. Be encouraged. Oftentimes their lies will get exposed. And also because they often use substances to regulate their emotions and self-soothe, they may have addictions that catch up to them, to alcohol, drugs, things of that nature. And, there have been situations that I know of where the narcissistic or toxic senior executive was a heavy drinker and drank themselves right into the hospital. And while they were in the hospital getting better and recovering from their, related illness, that's when the coworkers started talking and putting two and two together and figuring out the lies that were being told and the manipulations that were happening. And then everything kind of blew up on the spot. Also, the narcissistic and toxic individual, a lot of times offline, will have a lot of meltdowns and just a really tough time regulating their emotions. A lot of it is tied into the stress that they feel to keep up that facade, especially when they know really that they're not qualified to be in the position that they're in, and their false front or their mask is slipping, or their facade is cracking and crumbling. So know that in the long run, that it always comes to light eventually. And you may tire of the circumstances and decide to transfer to a different department or leave the org altogether. Or the narcissistic or toxic individual I've seen where they've actually taken a leave of absence, maybe because their addiction caught up to them and they were too sick to return to work, and it was becoming very apparent that something was wrong with them, or they knew that they were on the verge of getting fired. Because a lot of times narcissistic or toxic individuals, they may manage and manipulate well in the short term, but eventually it all kind of blows up. They mismanage a lot of things too, and they neglect a lot of things and overlook a lot of details that make them stand out as not being qualified, or it ends up biting them later. They may get a scathing review and may be on the verge of getting fired, and they know it. And so they may try to maneuver their way out of the organization by way of a leave of absence or something of that nature so that they can save face. At any rate, this type of individual can be very frustrating and difficult to deal with. And there are tactics and techniques, as I mentioned, that you can try to implement in order to navigate around that. And ultimately, the choice is yours as to whether or not the job, salary, and stresses and things that go along with it are worth your time, health, well-being, and effort. So you'll have to make the call ultimately, but know that you're not alone and you're not crazy. Know who you're dealing with, know who you are. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.